Hello, everybody. I am Liz Gagan, and I am the Director of the Department of Workforce Services. And I'd like to welcome you all to the Q4 Wyoming Workforce Development Council meeting. Unfortunately, Chair Trowbridge isn't able to join us right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and get our meeting started. First, just those housekeeping items. If you're going to speak, please turn on your microphone, as we do have some people online and members of the public who are listening in, and I can't hear you if you do not. And the bathrooms in the building are located just right outside of this exit door over here. And with that, I guess I have to officially say I'm calling the meeting to order. Yay. And we'll go ahead and have Jennifer Wilch. Oh, first let me do just a couple of introductions for new people. First, we have Jackie Herb from the Department of Workforce Service, Department of Family Services, and she is Director Corin Schmidt's designee to the council. And also we have Jerry Henderson. Jerry is with Governor Gordon's office, and Jerry is now the governor's designee on the council. Lauren Shainfeld is still on the council, but she is serving in a different role, and that is as a business member. So Lauren is still on, but we are adding Jerry. So thank you both for being here today. And now I will have Jennifer do roll call. Oh, see? You didn't put that on. Oh. Do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay.
Governor Mark Gordon or designee.
Here.
Senator Dan Dockstader. Here. Representative McKay Erickson. Chair Eric Trowbridge. Lauren Shainfeld. Ryan Bledsoe. Tony Cross. Larry Fodor.
Here.
Bria Hammock.
Present.
Katie Hogarty. Here. Travis Lawrence. Deborah Zolnowski.
Here.
Wendy Fiskett-John. Danny Bureau.
Present.
Tom Van Cleef.
Present.
Stacy Balkin.
Present.
Charles Wilson. Tina Conley.
Present.
Nathan Williams.
Here.
Philip Cornella.
Here.
Brenda Morgan.
Present.
Dan Meyer. Mayor Shea Lundvall.
Present.
Commissioner Peter Nicolason.
Here.
Director Elizabeth Gagan.
Here.
Executive Director Laurel Ballard or designee. Nikki Harper. Superintendent Degenfelder or designee.
Present.
Corinne Schmidt or designee.
Present.
Josh Durrell or designee. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Jennifer. I would first like to approve the agenda. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The agenda is approved. And I'd like to move on to approval of the September minutes, and I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
And the September minutes have been approved. And because Chairman Trowbridge couldn't be here, he did film something for you. So he is here to give his update virtually.
Good afternoon, everyone. Eric Trowbridge, or ET here, your chairman of the Wyoming Workforce Development Council, and welcome to Cheyenne, Wyoming for our Q4 Community as a Whole meeting. I'm very excited about the agenda that we put together over the last month or two. I think we've got some really interesting topics, including our panel tomorrow, a lot of great speakers. Of course, we have voting items today, so there's lots to cover in just a day and a half here. So please make the most of it. I do hope that each of you spent some time to prep for this meeting. Like I've mentioned before, it is so vitally important that you take this seriously. Just once the materials are released, grab an hour out of your calendars, block it off from your regular day stuff, and just sit down, go through the agenda and the books and make notes and make sure that you're aware of who's coming and to be able to be ready to participate and vote on certain items. So I just wanted to remind you about that, but really excited about all the stuff we're going to learn here in the next day or two. And I do apologize for not being there. I rarely miss council meetings unless it's something super crazy. And something super crazy did kind of come up last minute about 2 weeks ago. I got invited to be a keynote speaker at the AI Leaders Forum in San Francisco. So as of this recording, I'm currently flying back on a plane to Cheyenne. I will be with you tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of your fabulous faces tomorrow. But it's just a once in a lifetime opportunity to be able to go in front of a group of AI professionals. The work that my team and I have been doing in the AI space for Blue over the last couple of months has caught some attention, and so they asked me to come and show it off. So I couldn't say no to that. So I'll be back to run the meeting tomorrow. So I do want to say thank you, though, Director Gagan, for kind of taking over the duties this morning for roll call and getting it up to this point here. Just a few notes before I kind of hand it off so we can get through the meeting today. Just want to do a quick reminder about the subcommittee participation. As you all know, we went and we restructured it. We're going through the chartering process, which will be done by the end of this year, which is crazy. It's next month. And so it's really vitally important that you all participate and attend those monthly meetings. Now that we've kind of moved everyone around, please talk to your chair if your group wants to relook at times and dates that works the best for your group. And of course, as you know, it's going to be impossible to schedule a day and a time that works for everyone, but please do make it a priority. And if there is, now that we've regrouped, please partner with your chairs if we need to revisit the day and time of your monthly subcommittee meetings, because as you know, that's where the meat and potatoes happens. So want to make sure for that. I do want to just kind of give a few little quick things here. So the reception tonight, I am your host, which is so sad because I'm not even there. But I was going to be your host since this will be my last in-person committee as a whole meeting as your chair. We're going to be visiting this evening after you get done with the tour of the Workforce Center there. We're going to be visiting a new entrepreneurship endeavor in downtown Cheyenne. It's called the Wagon Hound. It's a wine bar, and they've got charcuterie and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to, I think, on the agenda, you should be there by 5. It's right on the corner of Capitol and Lincoln Way. So it's right there in the Heinz building, if you're familiar with the Heinz building. Just opened up 2 months ago. Pretty cool place. I checked it out, talked to the owner. And so here's how it's going to work. Go ahead and show up there. I did buy you all a really fancy charcuterie board. So I love charcuterie, and I'm really sad I'm not going to be able to eat half of that plate tonight. But there'll be a big charcuterie board for you, and then just all drinks. If you need anything else, will be on your own side. So I'm providing the space and the charcuterie board for all of you. And then just have a great time networking and walk around. There's different tables, there's couches, so grab a glass of wine or non-alcoholic beverage or water, eat some charcuterie. And then there's plenty of places for dinner options, so you guys can make up your own plans. But I'm just going to list a few of my favorite places. You want some really great, there's a new restaurant, ramen, dumplings, and sushi, Hokkaido Ramen. It's not far from here, so if you want to, within walking distance, of course, in downtown, we've got Rib and Chop. We've got the Met. We also have Accomplice not far away. We have the Albany. And looking to see if there's anything. Oh, we got the Paramount Ballroom. So if you want to continue your evening festivities with some other light snacks, Paramount Ballroom is always a wonderful place to go. We also have the Bronx Pizza. If you just want something quick and easy, some New York style greasy pizza. Bronx Pizza is only a block away from there. Also in downtown, we've got Napoli's Italian restaurant. Mondello's is great Italian as well. And then a few other places if you want to get in the car and go around. An always place that's really good is The Office. If you like Indian food, I think it's one of the best Indian food places I've ever been to. It's called Durbar. It's here in Cheyenne. Amazing food. Also, if you like Thai, Anong's is just across the railroad tracks. Their Thai food is amazing. I had pad Thai in many places, even in New York City, and I come back to Cheyenne, I was like, it's nothing like the Anong pad Thai. So Anong's is really great. And let's see if there's anything else. Oh, Railspur, Burra Tacos, if you like Burra Tacos. Poor Decisions was voted the #1 restaurant in Cheyenne recently. So lots of great places. So network, mingle, eat charcuterie board, go get food. So that's how the reception is going to work today. You also saw that we made the announcement of locations for you next year. So of course I will not be joining you for 3 of them. My last committee as a whole meeting will be in January, which as you know will be remote. But then we're going to go all the way up back to Gillette in May. So our Gillette folks here on the council will be hosting us up there. So looking forward to, you all should be looking forward to going up to Gillette. In the fall, our September meeting, we're going to host it in Saratoga. So Chair Danny Bureau will be hosting us in Saratoga, and then we'll be back you will be back in Cheyenne in 1 year from now. So those are our 2026 locations. And you might notice here that we have an empty chair, but I do have some really good news to share with all of you as I close out so we can get this party started. As you know, we've been on the search for a new vice chair. And so we submitted 3 names up to Governor Gordon. And just last week, we did actually get an appointment of a new vice chair for this council. And this individual has accepted their new appointment from Governor Gordon. And that person is there in the room today. So they're sitting around inconspicuously somewhere in there. And so I want to introduce you to your new vice chair of the Wyoming Workforce Development Council. Please stand up and give a round of applause to Tony Cross. So welcome, congratulations, Tony. Very, very excited to have you as our vice chair. So you can now move over to my vacant seat there. And I'm tossing Tony into the fire. I'm like, hey, so for your first council meeting, can you run day 1? So thank you so much, Tony, for running day 1. I'm sorry I'm not there. And just really excited to work with you more closely over the next couple of months as we kind of do a transition. And chair and vice chairs, but I couldn't have thought of a better person to be our new vice chair. So please give some time to congratulate Tony on his new appointment, and looking forward to all that stuff. So Tony, the show is yours, the council is yours, and good luck. And just want to say thank you, everyone. Have a really great, productive day 1, and I'll see you all tomorrow for day 2. Until then, everyone, have a great meeting. Bye.
Hi. Thanks for that. I wanted to just say really quickly, express my gratitude to the governor for the appointments, and also recognize Michael Kircher, who is no longer with us in the council sense. And he did a great job, and tough shoes to fill. I've been on the council for 4 years. It's an honor to take over this position, whatever that means, which apparently means running the meeting today. And I have to say that I was out of town visiting my dad in Michigan when I got this call last week, and I have not had time I feel like if I'm going to run the meeting and stand in for ET, I should have far more colorful shoes on. But I didn't have time to go get some really bright shoes, so sorry, it's going to be a little bit different, sartorial style. But with that, happy to be here. Welcome, everybody. And I'm going to send it right back over to Director Gagan for the Department of Workforce Services update.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Cross. And I'm going to give you all the Workforce Services update. And primarily what I'm going to discuss today are questions that you all asked via the survey that Jennifer always sends out. If I maybe misconstrued your question, or you have follow-up questions, by all means, please, approach me at a break, or there's probably time afterward for you to, ask the follow-up or give me some more information really about the question that you had. There were many questions from you about how the shutdown is affecting the Department of Workforce Services, and I am happy to announce that it's had minimal impacts here at Workforce Services. Our WIOA grants are on a July 1 through June 30th schedule, so we have been able to make any of those drawdowns that we need to. In addition to that, Governor Gordon is allowing Wyoming to continue to fund state employee positions that were fully or partially federally funded for the time being. So our vocational rehabilitation staff who do run on that October 1 through September 30 schedule, they don't currently have a federal grant, but because we have that state match, we have plenty of funds available to be able to continue to pay our staff. We do, though, have to kind of slow down a little bit with regard to paying for services. Vocational rehabilitation does have some carryover funds that are available, but for a variety of kind of fiscal limitations, they're unable to access 600 series funds, which haven't been previously obligated, or which, would fall out of the carryover funds that are available. But we are continuing to offer no-cost services, able to fund anything that we had previously obligated, and able to fund some things, just not kind of fully like we would in the past. From a timing perspective, it's pretty good, because if there are tuition payments and those types of obligations, it would have already occurred. Our unemployment insurance, they haven't received their administrative grant, but they do have other state funds, so they can continue to operate. There has been an uptick, though, in UI's work. Roughly 200 federal furloughed employees are currently receiving UI benefits. And, because there's not a federal budget, we still have a lot of uncertainty and don't know what to expect for the year beginning July 1, 2026. I know I've talked about this before, but we're still kind of at that point where there's 3 different proposed budgets, one from the White House, one from Senate Appropriations, and one from a House Labor Subcommittee. The White House proposed budget contemplates combining several DWS grants into one called Make America Skilled Again. But the Make America Skilled Again grant is supposed to be funded at 24% less than previous funding. It's really impossible to know how that may affect us, because the Secretary of Labor would have to determine a formula to see how the funds are allocated. If we did lose 24% of our funding for our employment and training programs, that would be a reduction of about $2.2 million. The White House proposed budget also eliminates Job Corps and Adult Basic Ed. The Senate Appropriations Committee budget primarily keeps our funding levels the same, and it does not eliminate either Job Corps or Adult Basic Education. There is a House subcommittee budget. It includes a 28% cut to Department of Labor. It would eliminate WIOA youth formula funding. It combines WIOA adult and dislocated worker funding and reduces that overall number. It eliminates adult basic ed, and it reduces Job Corps by about half. So those are 3 pretty different places to be. And we'll just have to wait and see how it shakes out. Then there was a question about whether we plan to work with the Wyoming Department of Health on the new work requirements for Medicaid. I did speak with Director Johansson in September. He didn't feel like The work requirements were really going to affect Wyoming because Wyoming hasn't done Medicaid expansion. There are some current work requirements, but they're much smaller scale. And currently, we do work with the Department of Health on the existing work requirements for Medicaid. They send us the names of people who, need to be trying to find a job, and we reach out to those people at least 3 times to see what, if anything, we can do to get them employed. The next question was, what programs have had the biggest impact on our critical industry shortages? And I would say primarily that our Next Gen Sector Partnership have the biggest impact as they are industry-led. As an example, the Southwest Manufacturing Partnership started the conversation about the need for more substation technicians, technologists to scale up electricity transmission in the state. Then they moved those conversations over to Western Wyoming Community College. Western Wyoming Community College submitted an application to the Wyoming Innovation Partnership that had a variety of information about economic modeling, that the average earnings are typically $93,000 a year, that these jobs are frequently filled by temporary workers who leave Wyoming, and they had letters of support from 12 industry partners. WIP did approve their application. That application was filed in early 2023. The first cohort started fall 2024, and the first cohort graduated in the spring of 2025. So that's just an example of how when everyone around the table is working together, kind of how quickly we may be able to stand up new programs. But I will point out that the Wyoming Innovation Partnership, has changed, and they don't have the level of funding that they did in 2023. The next question was, what discussions is the department involved in to address these workforce shortages with a quicker turnaround? Really each one of these situations is different. As the substation technologist example shows, it may take many different partners to stand up a new program. And Workforce Services doesn't create curriculum, and we're not a training provider. But through our business training and support unit, that there are certain things that we can do. As an example, one of our pre-hire grants may be able to address workforce shortages quickly, but there has to be a training provider who is able to provide that training. So each situation is different, and we kind of go to the toolbox when these situations are made known, and we kind of work as quickly as we can. And then the last question that I had was, what strategies need to be updated with the declining number of visas being issued for seasonal workers in Wyoming? And I will say that I am unaware of seasonal visas being restricted. In Wyoming, a variety of businesses use the H-2A visa program for seasonal agricultural workers, and a variety use H-2B for temporary non-agricultural jobs. And I'm unaware of any limit on those temporary types of visas. There are new restrictions on H-1B visas, namely a $100,000 fee per visa, but these H-1B visas are for specialty occupations, usually a STEM type of occupation that requires at least a bachelor's degree. They usually run for about 3 years. So that, again, if someone is aware of temporary visas being restricted, maybe catch me up and let me know, but I'm just currently kind of unaware. But that $100,000 fee wouldn't apply to a seasonal temporary worker. So those are the updates that I have. Again, I guess if anyone has any questions, you can go ahead and ask now, or you can find me on a break and ask, or whatever you may choose.
Thanks, Director Gagan. Any questions or comments for Director Gagan? Go ahead, Phil.
It is new, yes. Yes. For a 3-year H-1B visa. It's usually, you're going to find computer scientists, mathematicians, I mean, there could be some healthcare, those typically STEM type of occupations.
Any other questions for Director Gagan? No? All right, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, our next item is the spending plan and expenditures. I think is Jennifer Cassidy ready to go? Oh, great. Colette, thank you. Yeah, if you could press there you go.
Okay, perfect, thank you. I would like to start off with, Jennifer, can we start off with the agency budget, the overview? Perfect. This is a high-level overview of the agency budget. Right now for grant year 2023, we're 99% expended. For 24, we're at 92.97% expended. And for 25, we're about 50% expended. Does anybody have any questions regarding these numbers? Perfect. I'll move on to the agency expenditures. For July and August, we were at about $350,000. We are a little higher in September, and that is due to leases are paid quarterly, so they were higher there. And then also grants. We were higher in grants, and that's due to school schedules and the new semester. So this top portion here is just carryover from the last page. Does anybody have any questions regarding the expenditures? Perfect. I will move on to the council budget. Again, in July and August, we were at about $40,000 for expenditures. September was higher, and again, that's because of the lease expenditures that we pay quarterly. Our obligations down at the bottom, we have obligations to the partnerships, Lift Wyoming, Collaborative Economics, and Northern Illinois. Those total $185,000. If we move to the top here, we see that in 23, we are 100% expended or obligated. In 24, we're at 76%. And for 25, we have not expended anything. So does anybody have any questions regarding those numbers?
I have one.
Yes.
Actually, it's not regarding the numbers, but could you please remind me how long we have to for the 2025 expenditure?
We have 3 years.
Yeah.
So it was granted in July 1st of 25, so we have till June 30th of 20.
Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions for Colette? Sorry, go ahead, Colette.
No, I'm good. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any questions or items for discussion on any of these? Dr. Aldrich, hi.
How you doing down
How
there?
you doing?
It's a long way down
Please,
there.
yeah, go ahead.
I just had a quick question, Vice Chairman Cross, if I could. I'm curious about, with the stated intended plan to take state funding back to 2019 levels, have we looked at what the impact of that would be on Department of Workforce Services as far as the one-stop shops and the things that we're currently responsible for through this council?
Great question. I have no idea what the answer to that is. Director Gagan, looks like you. Yeah, go ahead.
And I don't have a very specific answer. I read a news article, from some members of the legislature, but I really don't know what their plan looks like. So I can't answer that question with any level of, well, I guess I can answer that we haven't looked at anything very specific because we don't know what that may mean.
I just noticed that our numbers on the presentation we just had went back to 2023. And so I'm wondering what those looked like in 2019 versus what they look like today, and what type of a difference there would be between those numbers.
I mean, those are, the numbers that we were looking at are funds that come strictly from the federal government. And, from the article, I certainly I don't have any understanding of whether those legislators meant general funds or federal funds or what. But I will say the WIOA funding from the federal government has been very flat. I would be very surprised if the numbers that you saw for 2023 were very different than the funds we received in 2019. I would be surprised.
Any other questions or comments? All right, is there a motion to approve hold on. Bear with me. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Phil. Yeah, hit your mic, please. Thank you.
Sorry about that. $90,000 for Northern Illinois University. What is that?
Mr. Chairman, I can address that if you may.
Thanks.
So Northern Illinois University provides our evaluations. It's $45,000 per year, but because it's a multi-year contract, then you're seeing it's multiple years. And so that's where the $90,000 is. And then great news and spoiler alert, the 2024 evaluation is complete and we will be reviewing it, if you haven't already, tomorrow afternoon.
Thank you, Jennifer. Welch?
Jennifer, you can confirm we have to spend that, right? I mean, that's a required.
Right, evaluations
wanted to
are a
be sure.
required activity, and the council can get sanctioned if we don't do them.
Thanks, Jennifer. Any other questions? All right. Is there a motion to approve the spending plan and expenditures as presented?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the expenditures as presented.
Thank you, Brenda. Is there a
Second.
second? Thanks, Danny. Last chance at comments or questions on this one before we vote. All right, the spending plan and expenditures has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. I think we're going back to you. Is that right, Jennifer, for the funding request and 2026 collaborative economics contract? There's a couple of items under here that Jennifer is going to speak to, and then also some information from the Department of Corrections was included in your book. So take it away whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you have a preference about which one I do first?
I do not. Do we need to vote separately on these?
That's up to you
Probably.
guys.
Let's
Whoever
vote.
makes the motion.
Okay. Well, then I won't say anything about that. Let's start with the Department of Corrections, please. Thanks.
Very good. I bring to you this morning a request from the Department of Corrections seeking one-time funding to continue the Acceleron program while simultaneously developing a customized evidence-based Wyoming reentry program. This program, and we have some members in the office or in this room, this program is used by the Department of Workforce Services and the Department of Corrections for reentry folks. The request is for $22,023.75. This is one license per facility for platform access and 500 booklets for inmate use. The temporary funding will ensure eligible inmates continue to have access to a reentry program while their new new reentry program is being created. August 22nd, 2025, the Strategic Performance and Finance Committee voted and approved to recommend this request for funding. The Acceleron pre-release program is a modular outcomes-focused initiative that integrates cognitive behavioral strategies, life skills development, and, important to us, employment readiness training. Its primary mission is to equip participants with practical tools and connections to promote long-term stability and reduce recidivism. The program is offered to inmates eligible to release within 18 months and is delivered by the Department of Corrections. Since the program's introduction in May 2023, 635 offenders have successfully completed the Acceleron pre-release program. These graduates have demonstrated increased understanding and essential reentry skills. In addition, 440 offenders paroled or discharged while not completing this program have utilized the Acceleron program. Again, I kind of alluded earlier that this program is also used in conjunction with the Department of Workforce Services as we help people re-enter the workforce. And with that, I stand for any questions. We also do have some representatives from the Department of Corrections who have joined us through Zoom, and I invite them to speak if they have anything as well.
Thanks, Jennifer. Is there anyone online who has anything to add to Jennifer's presentation on this funding request?
Mr. Chairman, Tom Van Cleef.
Hey, Tom,
Hey,
go ahead.
so quick question. I know that you mentioned that we have workforce services staff that assists. Do these programs, first part of the question is, these two programs dovetail? Our internal workforce services folks are using or are supporting this additional internal to DOC program?
That is correct. So the Department of Workforce Services staff who utilize this program with the reentry population would also like to continue this program.
Okay. Second question, and this is probably, something that may be beyond the purview of what we're talking about. Some of the grant funding that we use internally for workforce services for our reentry program, is that at risk in the new budget process coming out of Washington, or with us going back to 2019 funding?
I'm not sure how to answer that. So I'm going to answer, hopefully this answer helps answer that. The council currently, today, has the funds to award this and more for other projects that the council sees fit. But we do have plenty of funds to award this contract or award this funding. Also, this is a one-time request. It's not an ongoing request for funding.
I guess the point of my question is, do we anticipate having a cut internally with workforce services for our reentry services or reentry assistance staff?
Go ahead, Director. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me maybe back up one step, and then I will answer that question. About 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, Workforce Services, in collaboration with the Department of Corrections, we were awarded a reentry grant. And specifically, that grant allowed for a lot of the infrastructure costs that were needed to even put internet in our facilities, able to purchase the computers, the hardware that was needed. And then we were also at Workforce Services able to employ 4 employees who were specifically working kind of in that reentry space. That grant does expire on December 30th of this year. But once that grant expires, we will use our current Workforce Center staff to do the reentry work. It'll be a little bit different, but anyone on their, of course, way out of the correctional system would be entitled to services from Workforce Services. So we will have staff, barring anything catastrophic, we will have staff to be able to serve this population going forward.
Excellent. That's a perfect answer to my question. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Just to clarify, Jennifer, so the request is $22,023.75, and that's for 5 facility licenses and includes the booklets, correct? Okay, thank you. I maybe should know the answer to this question, so apologies if I missed it, but how is this currently being funded?
It is funded through December through the reentry grant that we no longer have.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was wondering, just for everybody's awareness, kind of how that handoff happens with DOC to Workforce Services, and then how the follow-up happens, more just like structurally and how you guys have set it up.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Christina, are you able to come up and?
Mr. Chairman and committee members, could you repeat that for me? Sorry.
Sure. So I'm just curious if you can explain kind of structurally how the handoff happens with an inmate as they work their way out of the system with DOC and then into working with Workforce Services and, the follow-up that you guys do with them and everything.
Of course. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. So with the Pathway Home 3 grant, this is where we really started working more intimately with DOC, as well as providing services behind the wall. So prior to that, we were going to the facilities and we were providing resume writing, those types of things. But with the Pathway Home grant, we actually began providing case management services while they were incarcerated. So we were meeting with them on a regular basis. We were meeting in collaboration with, not sure if they call them case managers or not, but we were meeting with the staff that really knew the justice-involved individual, having joint meetings. So we were creating relationships with that individual prior to their release. And then once they were released, within the grant, there were requirements that we had to schedule appointments with them before they were released, and then we had to see them within a certain period of time after their release. So I think what really made this grant successful is all the work that we did prior to them being released. I think that's really critical. And that's something we really want to continue as we move forward, even though we don't have the Pathway Home 3 grant.
Thanks, Christina. Other questions, Dr. Aldrich?
I was going to say that I have the opportunity to serve on the Wyoming Department of Corrections Prison Industry Board. And we have been talking about this type of system for the last 7 years that I've been in my position. And it wasn't until we had a change of directors at the Department of Corrections that we were able to actually really bring to fruition having an intranet system, if you will, that's kind of locked down so that they don't have access to the internet, and be able to bring them training modules and opportunities that they had not had access to previously for their captive audience there, so to speak. And so I think that this has really opened opportunities for those that are getting ready to be released and to come back into the communities, and they are able to earn industry-recognized credentials. They're also working on some micro-credentials that the Wyoming Department of Corrections is creating themselves. But my question always is, what is and do we ask in our application when they request these types of funds about sustainability? Because this will get them for 1 year, is my understanding. But what happens in year 2, 3, 4, 5 down the road? I know what they receive for Perkins dollars, and what they receive in Perkins dollars would not be able to sustain this past, not even a full year. So I just am wondering if that's a question that we include in our request for funding, and if not, maybe it's something that we should consider adding and moving forward, because it's great for 1 year, but then what happens, and do we lose that investment?
Great question.
Mr.
Jennifer?
Chairman?
Yeah, please.
As I mentioned earlier, this is temporary one-time funding because they are creating their own reentry program with partnerships such as the Department of Workforce Services, the University of Wyoming, the L. Bogan Foundation, and other strategic partners. So they're creating a very Wyoming-specific reentry program. As I mentioned earlier, an evidence-based Wyoming reentry program. And so this is the stopgap until that can be created.
Thank you. Katie?
But beyond the program completion numbers, are there any, is there employment data connected with the outcomes?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and committee members, I think, with any grant, there's always lessons learned. And so I think one of the things that we learned with this grant is we didn't have any MOUs with, say, UI, so that we could collect that data. So currently, the way we're collecting, and these individuals do have to have 1 year of follow-up services. It's a requirement. So the way we collect that now is by hand, manually. And so that has been a challenge, just because even if we hear through the grapevine they're employed, it's really been difficult for us to verify that and gather that. So that is definitely something that we thought in the grant we had just created a great thing, and we realized there was a hole there. So we can get you what we have, and we can get that to the director. Overall, I would say for, the work we've been doing, I would say it's good, but I don't have the data in front of me, so. But we'll get that to the director so she can share that with you.
Mr.
And
Chairman,
I would,
can I interrupt you for a second, Christina? Because it's another spoiler alert, but in the evaluation, our top performing high wage earners for the WIOA participants, the barriers that they have, the two highest populations are the justice involved and the homeless. So although I don't have the concrete numbers like Christina, but it's another spoiler alert in the evaluation, the top making above the living wage, and even the living wage that the council set, is the population with barriers that are justice involved and homeless.
Thanks, Jennifer.
I have a follow-up question.
Katie? Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Is there, just where we are in the process, is there a way to request that or get an MOU in place for this funding to be able to get that data? Or are we too far along in the process?
yeah, Mr. Chairman and committee members, we're just too far along. This grant ends December 31st of 2025, so just here in a couple of months. And as a DOL grant is winding down, it's, there's very few things you can and can't do, so.
Thanks.
I just would like to comment on something that Dr. Aldridge said. This would not have happened without the two great directors coming together and really allowing us to be very creative in the grant submission. There were a lot of things that we've even heard, like, wow, they allowed the intranet and, behind the walls. And so it really was an outside of the box type of grant. And I think it's those types of things that we need to keep thinking about.
Thanks, Christina. Nate, did you have a question?
I did, thank you. Jennifer, if I can find you there. I think this is a question for you. You mentioned the homegrown program that would preclude the need for this funded program in the future. What is the time threshold for that homegrown program, as it were? Is it in the next year?
That's what the letter to us said, in the next year, but I invite anyone who's from DOC who's on Zoom to pipe up, but that's what the letter said to us, and that's why they just need the 1 year to get that in place.
Got it, thank you.
Mr. Chairman and committee members, I can tell you that we have already started working with DOC on that. So our first meeting was just a few weeks ago. working with several DOC partnerships, as well as now our Workforce Center staff. So we have some staff in the back of the room that have been a part of that as well. So we are moving forward on that already.
Thanks, Christina. We have a hand up from DOC. I missed the person's name, sorry, but if you,
Justin,
Thanks, Jennifer.
if you'd like to chime in, we welcome that.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, committee, I'm Justin Burkhardt. I'm with the Wyoming Department of Corrections. I am the reentry program manager, and I appreciate all the comments here today. And I raised my hand, but the question already got kind of answered. We are working, we have meetings every Friday with the University of Wyoming to work on this, on the reentry pre-release program that we're currently working with, to have that updated so we could have that in place by January 1. This new funding would fund us through 2026. So 2027 would be our homegrown program that we're developing.
can you clarify that, please? So exactly, so what would be the sort of handover date from this funding to the homegrown program, or what's your goal there?
So this funding would fund us the pre-release program from January 1 of 26 through the end of 2026.
Okay.
That'll give us about a year to create our program, work with some foundations for some funding to help develop that criteria. And then also in collaboration with the University of Wyoming.
Thanks, Justin. I think I was just struggling with how soon it's going to be 2027
Yeah.
and had miscalculated the dates in my mind. Thanks.
Right. Yep.
Philip?
I was just curious, what would be in these training materials if we had target, like contractors or target industries, what they would be as far as the training programs, and if you'd have any interest in working with like labor union halls to get training, just so that people aren't trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think that is the plan, to be kind of all-inclusive. We do have the industry board, which I kind of jump on this a little bit late, but I heard that being discussed, and I think that'd be a good place for that to be brought into with some of these trades.
Does that answer it for you, Phil?
I guess I was more curious of what the training, we're providing 500 booklets of what exactly?
Sure. Okay. So that, I understand your question now. So that would be it's anything that has to do with getting them reintroduced back into the community. So helping with resumes, soft skills with employers, actually helping them with applying for jobs, different skill sets like that is what we currently provide. If that helps you.
Yep, thank you.
So I think if you don't mind me jumping in, Justin, there's, oh, sorry, go ahead. Thanks. I was just going to mention the documents list some of the core services: life skills training, employment preparation, connection to resources. There's more than that. But go ahead, Jennifer, and then we'll go to Tom.
I was just telling you that Tom.
Oh, got it.
has a question.
Tom, go ahead. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, I hope I'm not jumping the gun, but with the information on the success of this program, the fact that Workforce Services has a plan to replace or to continue the program internally to Workforce Services after the grant money's gone by utilizing internal staff, the fact that the federal grant money ends, and we have a definite time frame on this from DOC as to when they'll have their own program up and running, as well as the support of the members of this council and the members of industry. I would like to make a motion that we approve this grant in whole. And I'll stand for any questions.
Thanks, Tom. So Tom's made a motion. Before we get to other discussion or questions, is there a second to Tom's motion?
Second.
Thank you. All right, back to questions and discussion. I think Brenda looked like, yeah, go ahead, Brenda.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. The 635 completers, do we know what percentage is that of the ones that are eligible to participate? Because after reading through, I believe that it's a voluntary program. They don't have to do it. I'm curious how many people we're actually serving of eligible people. Do we have that number?
Good question. I don't know the answer. No, we do not. Is that a number that we can get in the future or over the next funding year?
I believe that that is probably something we could work with Department of Corrections for collecting for the future.
Okay. Thanks. Any other, go ahead, Phil.
If there are big projects or big target projects, have we thought about asking for money from the contractors? If there are specific places where these workers are supposed to go, have we thought about having the contractors put a little bit of money into it?
I don't have an answer for that one either, Phil. Can you be a little more specific when you say the contractors who you're referring to or what you have in mind?
Yeah, like if a big contractor's moving into Wyoming to needs a workforce and needs them trained, I would think that some of that should rest on the company or on the business itself, not on the state of Wyoming all the time. That, you know, I guess is where I was going with that.
Understood. Yeah. Yeah, understood. Thanks, Phil. I don't think we have an answer to that one, but I think that's so what I'm hearing is kind of, first of all, tell me if I'm synthesizing this correctly, but a sort of request for communication with potential employers or people who are coming into the state. And then secondarily, I'm going to rephrase this, but to Katie's point and others who kind of brought this up earlier, if it's possible to, I mean, I always like data. You know, it's great when you have a program like this to, if you can have all those inputs result in outputs and you can, you know, have it spit out a little report that tells you exactly how your success rate is statistically speaking. I don't know that that it's in the council's purview to really require that or ask that, but I would just say that I think if there's any follow-up in that vein that can be made available to this council, even if it's anecdotal, I think, just speaking for myself, I think that would be a good outcome over the next year. I would love to hear just less statistically, but just out of curiosity, how it's going and what are some of the success stories and follow-ups that have been taken, you know, that have taken place. I wouldn't really want to put the burden on DOC or DWS to come up with a big reporting system that doesn't currently exist. But in any event, final call for comments or questions. Danny.
Mr. Chair, I had one question. So when you say that DWS currently is using Acceleron as a program, do we have to pay for licenses for that? And is that a thing that would maintain going forward? That's unrelated to the grant. I'm just curious how that relationship works.
Yeah, and Christina, she shouldn't have left. But from what I understand is that it has that case management component as well. And so as the person is going through the system and through reentry, so they do their part while they're at that facility, and then they are back into their communities, they work with a case manager on our side, and our side can see what they've done, and that information tracks with the participant who went through that program. And so our staff value having that information and seeing what they've completed, and then being able to move forward with that.
Thank you. Oh, okay, one more. Yep, go ahead, Stacey.
Yes, I have a question in relation to the Acceleron Learning Program. It's asking for books. Is it 100% online? Is it a blended learning model? Is it in person? I'm looking at the website now, and it seems like it's online. Can anyone answer that question? This accelerated learning program, what is it? Is it online, blended, or in person?
I'll let someone with a better answer jump in, but my understanding is it's a software platform and then it's supplemented by booklets in certain circumstances, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I see Mr. Burkhart is off mute, so he can answer, but I believe it's in all the above. So it's, we're paying, this request is to pay for online modules, also booklets, and then DOC also provides staff who help people through this as well.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. We do have reentry staff at each facility that actually handles this class. They present this class, go through the materials, and the book is a guide with given to the offender. And it's basically, they call it, well, I can't think of the name right now, but a roadmap, essentially. So it puts down all their contacts that they'll need when they release, appointments, basically a roadmap for their release for the month after they release from prison. So that's what those books are for. And then there's something to refer back to if they're having troubles or kind of down on things or whatever, they can refer back to that book to help them out. And that the platform is online. We primarily use it. It's all in person in the Department of Corrections. We use it in person, but we do have the availability, like through ACCs and whatnot. We do use the online component.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we do have a motion and a second, so I'm going to quickly call for a vote, and then we'll talk about the collaborative economics contract separately. So it's been motioned and seconded, All those in favor, please state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Okay, that motion carries. And so let's talk before break about collaborative economics.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's less information in your packet about this because it is a current longstanding project for the Workforce Development Council. So when I mentioned earlier that there are some required activities such as conducting an evaluation, the council is also charged with supporting sector partnerships throughout the state. We primarily do this through a contract with Collaborative Economics. This contract both provides the roadmap for our sector partnerships, so we call that our Next Gen Sector Partnership Model, and it also provides facilitators to, so John Melville has been our main contact, but he has employed facilitators around the country for years. They generally show up for our Next Gen Sector Partnership Academy. And so this contract also includes the facilitators that he brings in and all of his work, or Collaborative Economics' work around the state to facilitate sector partnerships. When I was at a meeting the other day about the RIDE initiative, Fred Von Ayers with Genesis Alkali stood up talking about the work that they do and how the Southwest Manufacturing Partnership works really well with the school district and the college and all this conversation. And he said, we have a wonderful facilitator. And then at the meeting, he forgot to say how he gets a facilitator, but it is through this contract with Collaborative Economics that we provide a facilitator to any Next Gen Sector Partnership who would like to utilize one. And we've been doing this since, I just saw Ron come in, I believe since 2018. We have put this and sector partnership model out to RFP. So this contract would be our second amendment to the original contract. The RFP was awarded to Collaborative Economics 2 years ago. And so the request is to add an additional $91,920, which is what we use per year for this contract, and to extend the contract out by 1 year. With the state of Wyoming, you may have worked with the state, or you may have just gleaned this through the various contracts, but we only write a contract for 1 year at a time, even though that's why we amend it every year. That's why we don't do a 3-year contract with Collaborative Economics. The state only does 1-year contracts. So the plan, if approved, would be to extend this contract by an additional year and then add an additional year's worth of funding for the work that they do, which is $91,920. I yield for questions.
Thanks, Jennifer. Any questions on this contract? Awesome. Is there,
Vice
go
Chairman
ahead, Jerry.
Cross. Thank you. And Jennifer, you said generally the sector partnerships are utilizing these facilitators. Do you have an idea if there's any partnerships that aren't utilizing facilitation or aren't coming to the academy?
So pretty much everyone comes to the academy, but Larry Fodor down at the end, he doesn't generally need a facilitator. That's the whole model is that it's industry-led. So if the champion, and Larry is well-versed, he could probably teach a master class in Next Gen. Yes, he is. Don't take his head nodding as a sign. But we allow the groups to decide how much or how little. So Southwest Manufacturing Partnership have used them quite a bit, especially recently when they transitioned from the original core group of champions to the next generation, as Ron likes to call it. So they have used a lot in figuring out what these next steps are, and also when they move to their own separate 501c3. So again, and Collaborative Economics does do some door knocking. So there is no plan B, just so you know, and I don't have the time to do this, but they do a lot of door knocking as well, and then help stand up new partnerships.
Does that answer your question? Great. All right, is there a motion to approve the, what's the right phrasing, Jennifer? The amendment to the Collaborative Economics contract?
So moved.
Thank you, Danny. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Gagan. All right, any final questions or comments on this contract? All right, with the motion in a second, all those in favor, please state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? All right, the motion carries. I'm doing a terrible job running this meeting since we're 3 minutes behind, but it is time for a quick break. Do you think we can extend our break past till 2:23 p.m.? Let's just call it 2:25. We'll see you back here in whatever that is, 18 minutes, 17 minutes. Thanks, everybody. All right, everyone, if you can please take your seats, we're going to reconvene here. All right, thanks, everybody. We are going to reconvene. If you could please take your seats, we'd appreciate it. All right, thanks, everybody. Our next item is the Full Circle Vocational Rehab Answers to our questions, which I believe came out of the presentation from our previous meeting. So Jennifer, sorry, could you please remind me who the...
Sorry, I don't think I put it in the agenda, but
Okay.
Callie Davis from Vocational Rehabilitation.
All right. Thank you very much. Take it away.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. I am Callie Davis. I am the Policy Training and Innovation Manager for Wyoming Workforce Services Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. And yes, you guys got to hear me talk, provide like the Cliff Notes version of what vocational rehabilitation does and why October was such an important month for us last month. So today we're going to dive just a little bit deeper into that and go over some of the really cool stuff we've been doing in the past month and what our plans are for the future. So I am going to share my screen. I've got a PowerPoint to keep me on track more than to keep you guys engaged, but here we go.
I don't think we're seeing the... Have you shared it yet?
I'm working on it. So fingers crossed it works. If
Okay,
not,
stand
that's
by.
okay.
I think we don't have it on our end yet. Okay, there we go. Thank you.
Good deal. Okay, so thank you for that patience with me. So again, I'm going to be talking about empowering people with disabilities in the workforce, going beyond NDEAM. So for anybody who works in workforce services or human services in general, we're pretty used to seeing acronyms everywhere, and vocational rehabilitation is really no different. So I'm going to do my best to try and translate all of these acronyms that are going to be coming your way. But please stop me if I'm just rocking and rolling and get into the habit of not clarifying what those acronyms mean. So NDEAM, again, the National Disability Employment Awareness Month. We celebrate it in October. Each October, we recognize people with disabilities for their contributions to the workforce. Now that can be awareness, support, it can be education, and just really cheering people on who have disabilities in the workforce. And also cheering on those employers who see the value in hiring folks with disabilities. And Wyoming is, I'm so proud of my state. I truly am. And we are the equality state, right? It's right there in our name. But this photo is of the governor and a variety of workforce services and vocational rehabilitation staff celebrating the governor signing the proclamation saying that Wyoming supports folks with disabilities in the workforce. So getting that support from the top down means an awful lot to our agency, and this picture is just kind of cool too. But Wyoming does so much more than just signs a proclamation. We truly put our money where our mouth is because Wyoming is currently ranked 10th in the nation for having people with disabilities in the workforce. That's pretty amazing to hear Wyoming popping up with that kind of a percentage. But in addition to having our governor proclaim that National Disability Employment Awareness Month is an important thing, we also have the State Rehab Council going out and celebrating employers. So for those who may not know, the State Rehab Council provides guidance to Voc Rehab to make sure that we are meeting the needs of our participants. And throughout the year, they accept nominations for outstanding employers who truly embody what it means to be inclusive of folks with disabilities. So Last month, the State Rehab Council traveled up to Sheridan and said, you know what, American, and that hotel chain always kind of gets stuck in my mouth when I say it because it doesn't flow right, but that's just me. So American got an award for being truly inclusive for folks with disabilities, and photo evidence showing some employees, the managers, and State Rehab Council staff, they're presenting the award. So Wyoming currently has 40,000 people with disabilities in the workforce. That's a lot. That's 45 to 51% of our working population. Now, when you compare that to the national average of 37%, we're doing pretty darn good. Employers also celebrate employees. So this picture is of Tyler Leonard. He is the general manager of the Buffalo Wild Wings restaurant in Cheyenne. So Tyler gives back to his community year round. But in October, he took a bunch of high school kids who are curious about the culinary arts and what it takes to work in a kitchen, all the different jobs within that industry, and gave them a boots on the ground tour. So what's really special about this, though, is, by taking students to these places, it's boots on the ground, and they move from passive participation in planning out their futures to more active participation, meaning that they're there, they're asking questions, they're touching things, they're truly experiencing what it's like to work in that workplace. And Mr. Leonard is amazing with supporting our students and not just giving tours, but also hiring folks with disabilities. But so that is just Cheyenne. So go support Mr. Leonard, go support Buffalo Wild Wings, and go have your dinner there maybe. But with that, though, in some Wyoming communities, and remember I had said that 40,000 folks with disabilities are in Wyoming's workforce. In some communities around our state, again, Gillette and Laramie, their employment for people with disabilities were as high as 75%. So huge shout out to those communities. And I briefly mentioned that last time we visited, but I think it's worth mentioning again because they're really doing the good work. So who are our partners? So vocational rehabilitation supports folks with disabilities in the workforce, right? We start working with students as young as age 14. So that's freshmen in high school, all the way to retirement age. But we can't do it alone. So we partner with a lot of other resources, including the local chambers of commerce. And they have the knowledge, they have their thumb on the pulse of what's happening in their communities and how businesses are faring. So we definitely work with those chambers of commerce and really try and support the businesses in our own communities. We also work with individual businesses. Back when I was a rehab counselor in Fremont County, my favorite part of the job was being able to just go and have a great conversation with an employer, stopping in and asking them to explain their business to me, what's going well, what they're proud of, and then discussing some of the challenges they may run into as well, and seeing how we could collaborate and maybe help them. We also partner with individual school districts as well as the Department of Education. We all have the same end goal, to help students launch and to be as independent as possible and to contribute to the gross domestic product. So with that, we partner with the school districts and the Department of Education to help with that transition from high school into the real world. And personally, those are some of my favorite partnerships because I love working with students. But we'll talk more about what that looks like from the Voc Rehab lens further in my presentation. We also partner with Centers for Independent Living. Now, in some states, more populated states, there's a lot of centers for independent living. But here in Wyoming, we only have two. We have Wyoming Services for Independent Living, or WISL for short. There's an acronym again. And they cover the western side of Wyoming. We also have WIL, or Wyoming Independent Living, and they cover the eastern side of the state. Now, both of these programs are nonprofits. They are grant funded and private donation funded. to help move that dial forward for independent living for folks with disabilities. So we partner with them for transportation needs, or if they need accessibility devices, or if they just need support to get ready for work in the morning. Those are some of the things that independent living can help with, and it complements what we do. We also partner with local advocacy groups. So different communities have different groups of like-minded individuals in their communities that really want to help people with disabilities. So we are definitely on those boards, working with our community members. We also work with Medicaid waiver programs. So the Medicaid waiver programs oftentimes provide supports for folks to be independent. And if folks don't have supports at home, they may not be successful at work. So we really try and work closely with the case managers and the service providers to really make that continuum of service work so people can be independent both in employment as well as their personal lives. Community colleges and the University of Wyoming are also great partners for us. University of Wyoming has programs like the Institute for Disabilities or the Assistive Tech Resource Center, and we can really use their knowledge if we need their help to, let's say, identify assistive tech devices that someone could use to be successful at work. We partner with workforce programs, WYOA. They're just right down the hallway from us, and what they can provide sometimes takes what we can do to the next level. We partner with Veterans Affairs as well. So fun fact, Veterans Affairs actually has a VOC rehab program that's federal. It's called VR&E, VOC Rehab and Employment. So we can partner with them, cost share, and really help people to reach their goals. And then also partnering with community resource providers such as Community Entry Services in Teton and Fremont counties, Bighorn Industries in the Bighorn Basin area, Goodwill, the ARC, BOCES, those kind of places. What they do is the boots on the ground, helping people learn their jobs, helping them become more independent at home. And then lastly, and most importantly, is people like you and I. Having community partners that just want to do good work is key for us to be successful. What does success mean? How do we make it happen? It comes with supporting increased awareness. So in a business environment, everybody plays a part for supporting increased awareness of people with disabilities in the workforce. And one great way to do this, and I see it happen all the time in our chamber socials here in Fremont County, which is where I'm based out of, is businesses talking to businesses. So and I'm just gonna use Porter's as an example. Porter's installs hot tubs. When they're talking to other employers at those chamber socials about their experiences hiring with people with disabilities, it means more. So talking to your colleagues, to fellow business owners, and explaining what your experiences has been really helps. It increases that awareness. Making it easy. This, again, I'm going to pick on Fremont County because it's my own backyard, but when I think of accessibility, and I'm able-bodied, I don't need a wheelchair, I don't need a walker, I don't need hand crutches. But I still like accessibility because our post office is here in Riverton, is the most beautiful building. It's one of my favorites. But those steps are awful. I mean, they're about 4 inches long and they're steep. And every time I have to go to the post office, I just know I'm going to bite it. I just know I'm going to. But I use the ramp. So I don't have to fall down. I don't have to embarrass myself. I'm going to use that ramp even though I'm able-bodied. And I'm not the only one that thinks that way. Using accessibility features, whether it's required for my access or not, is a benefit for all. So making sure that your business is accessible for folks with disabilities really helps with awareness. Also getting involved, joining councils such as the Wyoming Transition Team. which focuses mostly on youth, again, transitioning from high school into the real world, getting involved in groups like that, or the State Rehab Council. That brings such awareness. And then lastly, remembering that everyone has a role to play in a business. So it doesn't matter if you're an employee, a middle manager, you could be IT, HR. Everyone in a business has a role to play to make inclusivity for folks with disabilities happen. So employer education. That is one big thing that we do. And it's not just Voc Rehab, it's everybody over at Workforce Services as well. A part of our job is to make sure that we can help employers understand all the ins and outs of hiring people. For me, I focus a lot on the Americans with Disabilities Act because, to be honest, it can be kind of scary. It's a big law. There's a lot of ins and outs to it and nuance to it. And sometimes folks just aren't comfortable understanding the whole thing. So DVR can offer employer training on tons of topics, but again, ADA seems to come up quite often. And what that can look like is just an employer emailing DVR and saying, hey, I've got some questions. Can you come and talk to me about this? Or more formalized presentations as well. Oftentimes, what I see is folks wanting more information on service animals and what constitutes a service animal. Some businesses have a Yorkie in their grocery cart and they don't know what they can say. They don't know if they can ask that person if it's a service animal and doesn't need to wear a badge or a vest. So no, it doesn't. But it's things like that, just to be able to help educate employers. If there's a topic that you're looking for more assistance on, reach out. We'd be happy to visit with you. But it's not just DVR. Like I said, Workforce Services can help with those questions as well. But so can the Rocky Mountain ADA Center. So that is a regional think tank for the Americans with Disabilities Act. They provide on-demand trainings, they provide webinars, all kinds of stuff. And the majority of their training is free. Centers for Independent Living can provide information to employers. And so can the Wyoming Institute for Disabilities, or WIND. Yet again, there's another acronym, and that's located within the University of Wyoming. So quick story about the ADA and employers and helping people out. Years ago, I was working as a rehab counselor in Lander, and I had a manager from a big box store, like a secondary big box store, call me and say, hey, I think they're going to sue me. That was the first words out of his mouth. I think they're going to sue me. So once I kind of figured out who I was talking to, because he didn't even introduce himself at first, I realized that this manager was very concerned because someone who was in a power chair couldn't get their front door open to their business. And they were very, very worried about it. So I met with the employer. We talked about what the ADA requires as far as pull weights to open a door and possible options to fix it. So when I went and I talked with the employer, I realized pretty quickly that their door was not out of compliance at all. And interestingly enough, the way we test that is we get one of those fish scales, where you can hook the fish on the bottom of the scale and hold it up to see how much the fish weighs. Hook that on the door and pull, and it will tell you what the pull weight is on the door. So we tested his door and I taught him how to do all of these things. And he was well within the requirements within the ADA. And it turned out that the issue was the wind was blowing particularly hard that day. And this person who was in a power chair just couldn't get the leverage to get the door open. So what we talked about is, one, he wasn't breaking the law. And two, what are ways to fix that? And he came up with the idea of putting one of those battery powered doorbells on his door. So if the door was too hard for somebody, they just had to push the button and somebody would let them in. Now, it was a win for everybody. I provided education to the employer. I taught them the ins and outs of ADA, and we satisfied the customer who was pretty upset at first. So it can be really beneficial to work with partners, having businesses work with DVR or Workforce Services to really identify those issues and work through them. So speaking of resources, I had mentioned a couple. DVR, Workforce Services, the Institute on Disabilities over at UW. But there's so many more out there as well. And I have a list here. I'm not going to read them all off, but I am going to focus on the Job Accommodation Network because this one's really cool. So let's say you're an employer or you're working with an employer who has an employee with a disability, and that disability requires an accommodation. Now, accommodations can sometimes be pretty scary for employers, even though more than half of all accommodations don't cost a thing. And the median cost for the ones that do have a price tag is about $300, which is something DVR can help with. But anyway, the Job Accommodation Network, if an employer has a question on how do I best accommodate this person, they can go to this website and they can type the disability in, and it can give a suggestion of different types of accommodations that they can then sit down with that employer and go, or employee, and go over and say, hey, would this work? What do you think of that? Those type of things. So not only are you working to make the workforce more inclusive within your business, but you're also channeling that person with the disability's knowledge and lived experience to find the best fit. So definitely check it out. Again, it's the Job Accommodation Network, and you can search by disability, and it will give a suggestion of different kind of accommodations. So we did talk a little bit about the laws, the rules, the regulations in regards to the ADA. There's also some other legislation that governs how people with disabilities navigate the workforce. So one of those is WIOA. There's also the ADA, there's IDEA, and the Rehab Act. There are so many letters in that little box with all those acronyms. WIOA, though, I do want to touch on that one because it has particular bearing when it comes to working with youth in Wyoming with disabilities. So WIOA used to be WIA, and then in the mid-teens, that all changed, and all of a sudden, Voc Rehab was instructed to put a significant amount of our yearly budget towards students who are in high school with disabilities. Now, we'd always been working with students, but now there's more of an emphasis, right? So WIOA allows now for us to go in and truly partner with the Department of Ed, individual school districts, to supplement transition services that they're already doing. And I got to say, it's a lot of fun because working with youth, their entire future is in front of them, and we can really help support them to explore and, again, be active participants in their planning. The Rehab Act is one that, when I talk about the legislation and the laws, the rules that guide what we do, that's one that people don't know as much about. But the Rehab Act, in a nutshell, protects against discrimination in the workplace. And that includes schools, public spaces, or any entity that receives federal funding. So if you're a history buff like I am, it's definitely worth looking up the independent living movement and civil rights in the 70s. I'm not going to get into that because I could talk about it for hours, but there's some pretty cool stories that came out of that as well. So fun. It's fun to do those kind of Google searches. With all of these rules, though, and with recent federal changes, and Director Gagan talked a bit about that when she visited with us earlier, funding shifts, reduction in force, things like that, has caused some challenges within Voc Rehab because we are partially federally funded. But we continue to provide services as best we can to our participants, our businesses, and the communities we serve. Sometimes just offering advice and being able to visit with employers about some of the challenges they have, that doesn't cost anything. But we're sharing our knowledge, and that's what we're leaning into right now. So, my favorite part, supporting youth with disabilities. And Dr. Aldridge has probably sat on entirely too many meetings with me when I get talking about this, but both the Rehab Services Administration, which is RSA, that's who govern us, and IDEA require collaboration to best support the youth with disabilities as they transition out of high school. So what that looks like for us is dedicated staff that go into the schools and work collaboratively with teachers to help move the students forward. We can provide work experiences too. So again, we want to take things from the theoretical, watch a YouTube clip and learn about a job, to actually doing boots on the ground work, letting them go and job tour Buffalo Wild Wings or get an experience working in another location that they may be considering for their future. There's a lot of power in that when students can really see what's happening in a workplace. We also provide counseling on enrollment opportunities. So that isn't just, here's how you apply for college. We take it so much further than that. We talk about apprenticeships, talk about pre-apprenticeships, maybe community college, maybe military, maybe just joining the workforce and getting hands-on training. We go over all of those things so those students can make an informed choice about their future. We also work on employability skills or soft skills. Some students have never worked before, or their work experience has been negative. With that, we can really provide that pre-training so when they do go into the workforce, they're ready to rock and roll and they have the skills that the employers need. Such as, how do I call in sick if I'm not feeling well? How does a time clock work? Why aren't sweatpants appropriate? All of those kind of things, we can have those conversations and hopefully help students bypass issues down the road. So those are just some of the things. My favorite though, and arguably probably the students' favorite as well, is virtual reality. So OSHA gets mad at us if we suggest sending a student into a mine to learn more about that career, or sending them up a telecom tower. They don't like that. And it's against the law, and it's really dangerous, and a bunch of other things. But the next best way to give students that experience of what it feels like when the wind is blowing on a telecom tower when you're 100 feet off the ground is virtual reality. So what we can do is we take virtual reality headsets into every school in the state. We have coverage across the state where students can do simulations of job tasks, such as being a telecom repair tech or underground directional drilling, or even working on a combine as a mechanic. There are tons of different job simulations that students can try in virtual reality, which not only gives them a hands-on approach to what this job feels like, but it also makes sure that they're safe. And we can expose students to jobs that may not be available locally in their community, such as wind energy tech. In some locations, and again, I'm going to pick on Fremont County, we don't have wind energy here. We probably should because we have a lot of wind, but we don't have wind energy, but we can do virtual reality so students can get that experience and then maybe look into a position in Casper or Cheyenne or Laramie or Shirley Basin area. So we're opening the doors for students to explore jobs. And let me tell you, the coolness factor is through the roof. When students see us coming through their school doors with those headsets, they're excited. They want to explore what's out there. And it's just a great feeling to be able to give that to students. And it's pretty realistic. The first time I ever tried it out, I decided bravely to try the simulation on what it takes to be a surgical tech for a knee replacement. Now, there's a reason why I'm a counselor and not in the medical field, and that was proof positive when I tried out the simulation because I got nauseous. It was that real. But for students, they kind of like the gore sometimes, so it's a good experience for them to see the reality of what that job entails. And I do want to plug, you guys are doing a tour later today of Workforce Services in Cheyenne, and we do have headsets there. So if you are interested in trying out the virtual reality headsets, please visit with one of the Vogue Rehab staff and they can set up a time later for you to try out the headsets and really experience what we're giving to the students. But enough about students right now. Let's talk about integration. how to be intentional with integrating folks with disabilities in the workforce. Now, number one is ensuring that the workplace is accessible. And I found this cartoon to be rather funny. It's probably pretty small on your screen. So it shows a gentleman in a wheelchair looking at a ramp that is going up a skyscraper. And the comment is, quote, "Yeah, it's great. But when I asked you to provide wheelchair access to my office, I just meant a ramp to the main lobby so I could take the elevator." And I think this speaks volumes to the importance of being intentional in visiting and working collaboratively with the person with a disability who's working in your business. Talk to them. They know their disability better than anyone else because it's their lived experience, and they can definitely give you good insight into what works and maybe what's a total waste of money. Also, with being intentional with integration is allowing for all voices to be heard. Folks with disabilities have a unique perspective on things because their lived experience, again, is different. So by asking employees what they think, it's very important. And then also bringing in training on disability-specific topics. So what are those business perks of hiring folks with disabilities? And this picture here shows Jackson resident Tim McLaren. If you are on Instagram at all, you've probably seen his videos. Tim's pretty cool. He also works at Vertical Harvest, which is a business in Jackson that grows, I don't know if it's all organic, but mostly organic vegetables and fruits and other things to supply to the local restaurants. And if you ever get a tour of it, buckle up because it's really cool. But anyway, Tim works at Vertical Harvest, but he also likes people an awful lot, and he also likes music. So Tim has really brought his community together because he dances in the square a lot. He's got an entire following of bringing good cheer to his community just by being a happy guy. He's got credit online through Instagram with different posts that have went viral, including Motley Crue. So I guess there's a Motley Crue person that lives in Jackson and knows him and they dance together. And then also other bands are interested as well and have supported what his goals are of just bringing happiness to Jackson. And that speaks volumes too for how that's tied into employment. Hiring folks with disabilities has been proven to boost morale across the board. The studies show that by having folks with disabilities in the workforce, overall morale increases by about 20 to 30%. How awesome is that? That's just by someone having a presence. Problem solving is also increased in the business realm by hiring folks with disabilities because of that increased innovation piece. And as I was preparing for this visit today, I found an article from the British Intelligence Service, and this has kind of blew my mind. They choose to hire folks with dyslexia. They actively recruit folks with dyslexia because they have found, the British Intelligence Service has found that by hiring them, they are much more adept at finding abnormalities in surveillance data. They look for patterns and the patterns stick out. How cool is that? They have found a way to take someone's disability and really make it a benefit for their business to really level up. And I know that's in Britain, but I just thought that was pretty cool and I wanted to share it with you. Hiring people with disabilities also increases employer retention. So some studies show that up to 30% less turnover when hiring people with disabilities. And that affects your bottom line, right? If a business can keep their employees, keep them happy, and make sure they stick around, that's less training time, that's less training dollars that a business has to spend. Pretty cool. Higher profitability also happens. So the bottom line is important with any business. It doesn't matter if you are selling jewelry or an HVAC tech. That bottom line is important. So the more customers you can get coming through the door, the better. So with stronger connections to the community, kind of like Tim, the customer base tends to go to that business a bit more. So be like Tim, right? Tim has figured out how to leverage social media to get the word out. It helps for hiring people with disabilities and raising awareness as well. So Workforce Services and DVR's Facebook pages are just full of great resources for employers to use, interesting statistics and fun facts. So if you're on Facebook, it may be worth a follow. Also leveraging community partnerships to utilize other social media platforms. So if you have cool information and you have a partner such as a Center for Independent Living that is putting on a great event, share it. This also shows one of Tim's viral Instagram posts. He's got thousands and thousands of followers. So the last page I wanted to show you is my current favorite success story. I have a lot, but this one's near and dear to me because I love Makerspace. So this picture is of David Mollick. He's the director of Makerspace 307 in Riverton. And David, Workforce Services, Vocational Rehabilitation, and a student with a disability all got together to really take this particular student's interests and abilities and find a way to turn that into a micro enterprise. So a while back at Workforce Services, we were looking for a vendor to be able to provide new badges. And if Trevor is on this call, he may very well be wearing the badge that I'm talking about today. So everybody look at Trevor. But with this, we were looking for new badges, new Workforce Services badges. And the call was put out, hey, how do we make this happen? We have a current vendor. What do we got? So I visited with David and found out that Makerspace had the equipment to be able to build badges for us. And further, I found out that David had someone who was doing a work experience, a student doing a work experience at Makerspace who really had the aptitude and the interest to make the badges that we needed. So between Workforce Services, Voc Rehab, Makerspace, and the client, student, we were able to get the badges made, train the student on how to do this, and now the student is working to build his own small business using the equipment that he's first had access to at Makerspace. My favorite part of this story, though, is not just where we put our money where our mouth is and we're supporting people with disabilities in the workforce. It's beyond that, because before these badges were even fully completed, this particular student was getting calls, independent, just getting these calls from employers around the region asking if he would be willing to make their badges as well. I mean, how neat is that? He has now built himself a business that will support him, will hopefully eventually work him off of any type of benefits to where he can be completely self-sufficient. And he's doing something he loves. I'm proud of him, and I'm proud of the businesses that supported him with that as well. So anyway, if you're ever at a community that has a Makerspace, please go visit it. It's very neat. You can learn how to use a bunch of different equipment, and also remember that they are great supporters of folks with disabilities. I'm keeping an eye on the time. It is 3:06, so I have 4 minutes left. But thank you for listening to me talk today. If you have any questions or want to set up a training for employers on any disability-related topics, I'm more than happy to either do it or help facilitate someone coming to your business to do it. If you just want to kick around ideas on how we further folks with disabilities in the workforce, I can talk and talk and talk about that. Or again, if you guys just want to try out those virtual reality headsets, you can set up a time when you're doing the tour of workforce today, just corner one of those Voc Rehab staff and see if you can set up a time to do that. But I've got my contact information here on this slide as well. Reach out to me. Email is usually the best because I am statewide and I do get a lot of windshield time going and visiting with everybody. But now I'm going to open it up to any questions you may have.
Thank you so much for that. My first question is it Callie or Kaylee?
Allie. So like
Sorry.
California, but shorter.
Callie, thank you. Thank you for that. That was a great presentation. So many interesting pieces in there. If I don't have time for a virtual knee replacement today, I'm going to be scheduling that for sure the next time I'm in Cheyenne. That sounds awesome. But we do have a few minutes. If anyone has any questions or, yep, Senator, please go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Callie, you mentioned the counties helping you. You got Fremont and Teton. What happened to the other 21? How do we get them involved?
All right, so when I was visiting about Fremont and Teton counties, that was in reference to a community business or a community rehab provider who just works in those two counties. We do have other vendors that provide similar services all across the state. So, does that help?
Thank you.
Mhm.
Dr. Aldrich?
Vice Chairman Cross, I just wanted to say I do have the opportunity and the pleasure of working with Callie on the Wyoming Transition Team, which meets every single month. We just met yesterday and brings together providers and districts and BOCES and everyone across the state who's really interested in transition work. And she has been chairing that, and kind of, it's like herding cats, I'm sure, for the last year or so. But is now moving into a different position. But she's done an amazing job of trying to coordinate all of those things. And I would hope that she might share about a transition fair that's happening in January.
Thank you, Dr. Aldridge. Yes, we have an amazing group of movers and shakers from around the state, different agencies, nonprofits, for-profits, business owners, people with disabilities themselves on this group. And the goal of the Wyoming Transition Team is to share information across the board and to really support students as they move into the real world. So most recently, we have decided to continue our tradition of a transition fair. So an academic transition fair is very similar to like a career fair where there's different booths and there's people that can visit with students. But in this particular event, the booths are manned by resources for people with disabilities. So students and their families and their teachers can go to this academic transition fair and they can get more information on Social Security or Department of Family Services programs or independent living programs, vocational rehabilitation, disability services in a community college. The schools can work with all of these vendors to gather information as well. So we are hosting this in late January. Hopefully it will be at the Gateway Center in Casper. We're still working out specific dates on this project as we're growing it. But last year was our inaugural year and we had over 300 students attend. So for me, that's very important because not only are we getting information out there, but we're empowering students to fully understand and advocate for themselves. So rather than relying on resources for the rest of their lives, they're getting this information to make informed choices and to be more independent. And this makes me happy to bring everybody together as well to be able to support that as students are learning more about how to be self-advocates. So that's one thing we're doing with the YTT or Wyoming Transition Team. The other thing is we also send out a monthly newsletter, and this newsletter goes to anybody who wants it, but we specifically work with the school districts and send it to the para educators, special education teachers, special education directors, and provide the schools with as much resources as we're aware of to help their students. So that may be the transition fair, or it may be the Department of Education's school counselor conference that's coming up in February. Things like that. We use our newsletter as a pipeline to disseminate information across the state. And ultimately, that helps our students.
Thanks, Callie. I think we have time for one more question. Mayor?
Yeah, not necessarily, Callie. This is Mayor Lundvall from Gillette. So thanks for your presentation, and I was pleasantly surprised to see the 75%, but encourages me nonetheless. And just more of a personal note, my uncle was high-functioning Down syndrome, and before he passed away a few years ago, and he worked for Pizza Hut up in Ronan, Montana, for almost 40 years. And so it was just an incredible testimony to what you're referring to and what you're discussing, and how it truly, in a way, transforms their life and gives them hope on a daily that truly doesn't often get recognized or commented on. But certainly seeing it personally and firsthand over the years has been truly inspirational. So I appreciate the comments and all the effort that you're putting into this.
Thank you very much. And, you know, I don't want to dive into sociology too much, but in American culture, the first question we usually ask new people is, what's your name? And then, what do you do? And your uncle was able to say, I work at Pizza Hut. And I'm guessing that he probably knew just about everybody in his community as a result, because it does become part of who we are. And it gives us purpose, and it's something that everybody should be allowed to do. So, and we get to help with that, which is great. But thank you again for listening to me talk today. I am super passionate about what I do, and I'd be more than happy to visit with anyone who has more questions. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Callie. And just again to point out, you've got Callie's contact information in the presentation, so please feel free to reach out to her for further discussion, questions, et cetera. Callie, thank you so much. That was really great. We are going to move on to the Cheyenne Workforce Center story. And then after that, we're going to do a tour, which I'm really looking forward to finding out what happens outside of this room in this building, because it's the only room I've ever been in. And then after that, we're going to move on to the networking reception. Just quick logistics, Jennifer. I assume we can leave all of our stuff in here during the tour?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you can leave all your stuff here. And tonight, we have a lot of equipment in here, so it will be locked. The whole building locks down, actually, at 5. So if you leave and want to come back in, tough. Unless you have my phone number, then we can let you in. Also, I did want to say that we're hoping, Callie mentioned the entrepreneur who makes badges. We are hoping that when y'all need new badges. We have a new logo, and someday we'll have colors to go with it. And so we're hoping that young entrepreneur could print our badges too. So just so you know, fingers crossed, we're hoping to use the council's funds to further that entrepreneurship as well.
Thank you, Jennifer. You must be Andrell.
I am, Mr. Chairman.
Haven't met you before. Thank you for joining us, and take it away.
Absolutely, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to share the exciting progress happening at the Cheyenne Workforce Center. My name is Andrell Cook, but I go by Jarrell. It's been my pleasure to lead this great office for the last 11 months, and it's been an incredible experience. Today, I really just want to take a little bit of time to share and to highlight 2 powerful participant success stories, and to share an insight of our growing business partnerships. And then finally close with a couple challenges that we continue to navigate as a community workforce partner. But before I begin, I'd like to just take a moment and acknowledge my team who you are going to meet during our tour. I have a couple of them over in the back as well who will be touring you. I'm just so appreciative of their commitment, compassion, and hard work, which exemplify what it means to serve our community with true heart and purpose. I deeply appreciate all they do and their selflessness. So first, I'd like to start with a WIOA adult success story, which highlights a path of courage and renewal. One of our adult participants moved to Cheyenne because they were seeking safety and a new beginning. Unfortunately, this participant was fleeing from a domestic violence situation with her infant child and living at the local safe house. Initially, they were referred out by our Power Program case manager, who was able to assist them by connecting them initially with critical support. Now, the Power Program is a program which helps Wyoming parents who face employment barriers by providing cash assistance through an employment-focused, pay-after-performance work program. This program is a part of Wyoming's TANF initiative and is administered by the Wyoming Workforce Services in partnership with DFS. So once she was established as a POWER participant, she was referred to our WIOA case manager for a comprehensive individualized service to support her rebuilding in her goals. She had previously tried to take courses to become a speech therapy assistant, but unfortunately life circumstances prevented her from beginning the program. With dual encouragement, both from my POWER and WIOA case managers, she was able to enroll and complete her prerequisites at LCCC. Our WIOA case manager was able to aid her with tuition and books and covered her background check, which was required for admission into that program. In May of 2025, she was officially accepted into the speech therapy assistant program. She is now thriving, earning A's, volunteering in our community, and continuing to strengthen her mental health. With the continued help and support of our team, specifically our case managers, she is creating a stable foundation for herself and her child, fueled by education, consistency, and determination. And what's so incredible about this story is that that program is such a competitive program to get into, and the fact that she's doing well is just extremely incredible. The next one I want to talk about is a youth success story that we've had, and it's about powerful transformation. We had a youth participant who joined the WIOA program in March of 2024. She had recently moved to Cheyenne from Colorado, raising 3 boys under the age of 10 all by herself. Although she had always wanted to go to college, she had dropped out of high school to support her family and never felt like a future in education was even possible. Through our direct partnership with LCCC and encouragement from her case manager, she got enrolled in the LIFE program, which is an adult basic education program through LCCC, and completed her classes within 1 month. Now, what's impressive is that class typically takes 5 to 8 weeks, and she did it in 1 month. After completing the class, unexpected family needs delayed her ability to take her final exam. Though she faced understandable disappointment, she remained determined to keep moving forward. With, again, the support and encouragement of her case manager, she secured immediate employment at that time at Magpul until she could sit for her final exam. Her resilience and perseverance are a true reflection of the spirit of our program and the impact of dedicated support. With a renewed stability soon after, she proudly was able to test and earn her HiSEC in June of 2024. She demonstrated remarkable determination and quickly began charting a new path forward. Through self-reflection and guidance, she discovered her passion for helping others and set her sights on a career in the mental health field. In the meantime, she successfully completed her CNA certification and secured full-time employment at Cheyenne Regional Medical Center, where she now enjoys steady income and full benefits. This is the first time in her life that she has achieved a sense of stability and independence. Continuing to build on that momentum, she is now enrolled at LCCC to complete her prerequisites towards a long-term goal of becoming a psychologist. Her journey alone shows the tremendous power of belief paired with guidance, access, and just given an opportunity. When we have participants come in, they're typically at their lowest point, and it's just so incredible to see the dedication that each case manager has to really serve each person, each participant that comes in and helps. It's almost like we're the last line of help, and just every day I come in, I'm just so encouraged by the smiling faces that you all see as you'll come and tour the area, and just this whole organization that is just willing to serve others. I want to talk a little bit about our employer engagement and innovative partnerships. Our team has been very intentional about deepening connections with local businesses where skills development and opportunities intersect. I've placed a really strong emphasis on my team about innovation, encouraging our business representatives to think creatively, and explore new ways to serve our participants while meeting the employer needs. One of the most energizing collaborations that emerged from this approach is our partnership with Resilient Tattoo and Piercing. After learning about a participant we had that was interested in art, but specifically pursuing a career in tattooing, our business representative initiated an outreach to a local tattoo parlor. The owner of Resilient Tattoo and Piercing was immediately receptive and so enthusiastic about this opportunity. The owner actually shared his own life experience following incarceration, how his initial opportunity were only limited to labor work. Yet through determination and hard work, he and his wife built their business from the ground up. Now he's deeply committed to opening the doors for others facing similar barriers. His excitement to mentor youth was so strong that he initially offered to host 10 participants at once. While we appreciate it, we had to make sure that we have a structured, meaningful experience for each person, so we can't allow a ton at once, but it was cool. As a result, we are now developing the first ever tattoo artist job shadowing opportunity for WIOA youth in Cheyenne, and the engagement and enthusiasm from both sides has just been incredible. In addition to this unique partnership, we have also cultivated a strong relationship with Patriot Diesel and Mechanics. The owner has demonstrated a genuine commitment to developing the next generation of skilled workers. He expressed significant interest in offering work experience and job shadows to grow his talent pipeline. He has already reached out to express his readiness and willingness to host youth referrals, and he pledged ongoing participation in our upcoming job career fair and recruiting events. We have also expanded employer engagement through our Workforce Wednesdays here at the Cheyenne Workforce Center. It's a monthly mini career fair series that continues to gain momentum. Each month, we've seen an increase in number of employers, participation, and new companies eager to engage in this program. Our team this year has also successfully coordinated 2 large-scale career fairs, one in the spring and one in the fall with LCCC. Both events were highly successful, connecting dozens of employers with local job seekers and students. Collectively, these partnerships reflect a growing network of Cheyenne employers who are not only opening their doors, but are also investing in Wyoming's future workforce. Through continued collaboration, we are building stronger pathways for our participants while meeting evolving needs of local industries. So with all this good news, what are some of the challenges that we're facing? Well, we're currently navigating a period of transition with nearly half of our staff in the Cheyenne Workforce Center being new to their roles. I have a total of 13 employees, 14 including myself, and 8 of them are brand new. My focus has been on ensuring that each team member is aligned with the responsibilities that best utilizes their strength while also receiving the appropriate training and supported needs for long-term success. I always tell them, every meeting we have, that if I can support them, they'll be able to support the community. And so I'm just here to serve them, and it helps them be able to serve all the participants that we have. We also see a shift in the needs of our participants. Many individuals require a greater level of coaching and more mentorship than in the past. Confidence, eye contact, and general self-advocacy skills are areas where participants are struggling the most. In response, our team has been highly intentional in providing mock interviews and employment readiness techniques designed to help our clients present themselves more confidently and secure meaningful employment opportunities. In closing, Mr. Chairman and council members, as you see, the Cheyenne Workforce Center continues to make significant strides. We are fortunate to have a dedicated and passionate team that consistently goes above and beyond to serve our community. I want to thank you all again for your time and your continued support of the work that we do every day here at the Workforce Center. Our team is committed to helping Wyoming job seekers and families not just get by, but truly build futures that they could be proud of. With partnership, innovation, and heart, we are changing lives and growing Wyoming's workforce, one success story at a time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Andrell. That was great. Wonderful presentation. I'm going to open it up for questions in a second. I wanted to follow up on one of the stats you mentioned. I think you said 8 of your staff were brand new. What do you mean by brand new? Just curious.
Great question, Mr. Chairman. Since February.
Okay, thank you. Do you, Andrell, do you know, is there a vacancy rate currently, or do you have open positions? And if so, what percentage of target that is?
I currently don't have any vacancies open at this time.
Got it.
We were able to fill quickly with really good. It was so important, and I had so much support to make sure it was the right person for the position and not just filling the seats. And we ended up getting that. So really excited about that.
How long have you been fully staffed?
Fully staffed since July.
Excellent. Great. Thank you. Yes,
sir.
Sorry.
No.
HR professional, this stuff spins around in my brain. Thank you again. Any other questions, comments, anything for Andrell? Phil?
I was just curious about that, the staff retention. Is there anything that you see as an issue, or because I know we've talked about this in years previous, you know, last year, the year before that, one before that. Yeah, I was just curious if you had any ideas on how to keep people around.
It's a great question. Thank you for asking. Are you talking specifically at the workforce center, or just in general for businesses, or what kind of where's your?
Just trying to keep to where we're not in a position of retraining staff members every year.
Yes, great question. I truly believe it's empowerment. I believe that you take care of your staff, you give them opportunities to grow, and you empower them. You know, my background's HR as well, and one thing that I learned throughout my career was we did focus groups throughout several companies I was with, and when you asked the employees what is the way they want to be recognized or what would they need to stay, the number one answer was thank you. It's such a low-hanging fruit that if you just thank your employees and really truly tell them how much they mean, because it's not me who does the job, it's them every day. I found it to be very successful. And when you go and you meet the staff today, please ask them. I think they're all proud of what they do and they feel supported and empowered. Thank you for that question.
Please.
Hello. I do have a question. How many participants are assigned to each case manager? What does their caseload look like?
I believe that Trevor and Christina will go over it tomorrow, but it just depends on what program. So, you know, if it's WIOA Youth, 20 to 25 is the expectation for a caseload. If we're talking about power, it's around 40. It's also ebb and flow with the season as well, different times of year. So thank you for that question.
Thank you.
Other questions? Katie.
Well, I'm Katie Hogarty. I'm the CEO of Climb Wyoming, and we really appreciate the partnership that we have with you all. I'm curious how you're thinking about the work requirements for SNAP now, and just we're feeling on the ground just a lot of anxiety from participants and with the uncertainty, and I'm curious how you're thinking about, like, if your strategy is shifting and how you're thinking about all the kind of managing the changes that are occurring.
I'm sorry, Dr. Gagan?
Thank you, Terrell.
Great question.
Hey, Jody, let me kind of work on that. And actually, I was just talking with Jackie from DFS right before the meeting started. Director Schmidt and I met last week to start to talk about what type of collaboration or what type of help we may be able to provide to DFS or likewise. And we've agreed to meet in probably about 2 weeks as SNAP has been really inundated with a variety of other issues right now. So we're starting to have those discussions probably within the next couple of weeks.
Thank you. Any other questions for Andrell? All right, thank you so much. That was a great presentation, and thanks for all the work that you and your staff are doing. And I would say congratulations on being fully staffed since July. That is a real accomplishment. It's not, seriously, not a small thing. So great job.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, council members.
All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Since we have some time, can I
please
direct some folks? I'd like to, Tuesday, I sent out a message through Onboard. It's just another service since we're talking about the Department of Workforce Services. And here in a minute, we're going to tour the Workforce Center, but we're also going to tour the building. So we have many programs inside of the Department of Workforce Services. And so I really want to highlight, and if you need it printed, we can print it tonight, but our workers' compensation, risk management, and our special investigations unit are doing a series of 2-hour presentations. It's the same presentation, but they're traveling to, it's going to be Casper, Cheyenne, and then 2 virtual sessions, but they're calling it the Partnering for Safer Workplaces. And it'll be some presentations helping employers, providing that information both about workers' compensation and risk management, but also fraud prevention. So that's just another item that's happening in the Department of Workforce Services and I attached into Onboard the flyer. So if you're interested, that's also great. But if you know of other entities that might be interested in these series, this group is another conduit to getting that information out. So I hope that you will review that, but also share it with other entities that you work with.
Thank you, Jennifer. Anything else? I'm trying to keep us ahead of schedule so I can wrap up my day in this role. All right. What's that? No deal. No, I think we are good to go for the tour, are we not?
Yeah, I think Drell is going to lead here at first, and so
Is everybody good? You want to take 5 before we get going? Okay, let's be back here at 3:40 and be ready to go. Thank you.
And we start again tomorrow at 8:30. Thank you.
8:30 tomorrow morning. If you have to miss out on the tour or anything else, we'll see you then.